There's something wonderfully timeless about an old stone wall, each stone carrying a little piece of history. In this watercolor tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to paint old stone walls by adding rocky texture with ease. First, I light sketch. No stone is like the next one, so I'm varying the size and shape as I go, because that'll make the rocks look a lot more interesting than if all the rocks were uniform. Pencil lines can always be erased before starting the painting, but I think it's kind of charming to leave them in. Alright, I think we're ready to paint. I'm going to start off by mixing some colors. I'm using a combination of Hooker's green, cerulean blue, and yellow ochre, amongst other browns, but it really doesn't matter what combination of yellows, browns, and greens or blues you use, as long as you just vary the colors as you go. Some stones have more of a greenish bluish tinge, some are more brown. Every stone is different, and that's what makes the painting look more interesting. So the way I'm adding or creating texture is I'm sort of using a dry brush effect, meaning I'm bringing in minimal water and mostly paint and just kind of laying the brush on its side, not really so much trying to paint each rock, but just kind of placing the paint on the paper, creating this sort of rocky, broken up texture. And as the rock wall gets further away from the foreground, it's a good idea to use more blues and grays, as objects off in the distance tend to take on those types of hues. So that's our initial wash. Now let's go in and start to define some values by painting in some dark areas which tend to be underneath the rocks. The light will usually come in from the top or at an angle from the left or right, so we would want to leave the areas exposed to light. If you have an old stone wall nearby, I suggest going out and just observing how the light falls on the rocks depending on the time of day. My mentor always used to say that observation is about 70% of watercolor painting. So currently our stone wall looks a bit more on the abstract side. So I'm going to grab a smaller brush called a rigger brush and add some minor details such as little cracks and things to suggest to the viewer that these are rocks, even though I'm painting this in a bit of a haphazard style, focusing on texture as opposed to making the perfect rock. I do have another rock painting tutorial focusing more on realistic looking rocks, which has done very, very well, by the way, very beautiful. I'll link that tutorial down below. So this is already looking nice in a loose and illustrative sort of way, but we'll just continue to add some darker values here just for the sake of completeness. As I mentioned earlier, along the bottoms of the rocks is usually where you'll find the darkest value. That's usually where the light doesn't reach as much as it does on the sort of the sides of the rocks or the tops of the rocks. To paint shadows, I usually go with sort of a gray-blue or a brownish-blue, such as an ultramarine or Payne's gray. So that's pretty much it for the rocks themselves. Now I'm going to add some sort of grassy type texture in the foreground to keep our rock wall from floating in space. And some more dry brushing toward the back of the rock wall for some more grassy texture. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps to push this type of content out to other aspiring artists. So finally, I'm just going to create a sort of very loose type of background, just so that we don't end up with just the plain white space in the back. Maybe this rock wall is on the edge of some woods, and so we'll depict some shrubbery and some trees in a sort of misty, glowing, silhouette-y type of style. Again, just being very loose here and just not really focusing on adding any type of detail for things sort of all the way in the back. Just trying to create an effect that there's some type of shrubbery and woods back there to kind of frame the rock wall. You know me, I can't finish a painting without a few saplings in the back. And lastly, totally optional here, just adding in some more darker values around the rocks just to bring them out a tad bit more. As always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you found helpful.